I would like to welcome back to the X's and Argos podcast a friend of the show, Toronto Argonauts wide receiver, number 11, Juwan Brescacin. Juwan, thanks so much for taking time today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here again.
So I want to start with the most important question in any interview, but it's one that I think is so often, and I'm guilty of this too, used as a throwaway. But how are you doing?
I'm good, actually. Thank you for asking. We spoke a decent amount on Twitter. Definitely been a trying few years, but I feel like we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good too. I feel guilty in a way in that I've been okay, and I know it's been a really tough time for a lot of people, and I feel very fortunate that the quarantining, now over a year of this, it hasn't been hard on me, and I'm very lucky, both in my employment and just socially and the family that I have around me, and just for whatever reason, it hasn't really affected me, but that's not the same for most people, and so like I always say, if anyone listening or watching at home, you don't feel great about where you are right now, there are so many places you can go to talk to people and to get help. And just because you can see the light at the end of the tunnel doesn't mean there aren't still difficult days. And we're not out of it yet. And so if you need to talk to someone, and Juwan, you'd be the first person to say that too, that take advantage of the resources that there are. And there's nothing wrong with seeking out help if you need it. Mike Hogan was on here a few weeks back talking about how he had taken advantage of being able to talk to people that they had in place at MLSE to be able to help them out with some difficult days. So yeah.
No, and honestly, Ben, I wouldn't say, to feel too bad, because I'm assuming you worked pretty hard to get to where you are, and, you set yourself up to not be in the position that some people are. And, as far as the whole mental health side, which is basically what you were touching on, I feel like just reaching out to anybody is important during these times, and moving forward once we get past this, because I feel like it'll take some years for people to not feel the effects that COVID caused, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, financial. And I feel like we're having conversations that are going to be important. And if it's not with a professional, maybe it's somebody who's close to you, which is why I started kind of talking about more, mental health with my mental health, or, athletes' mental health, or just mental health in general, because I feel like it's important for people to know that, they have somebody to talk to, and they're not going through it alone. So I don't know, we kind of got a little off track, but yeah.
It's important though. This is important stuff. It's more important than anything we'll talk about with regards to football. This is very real, and I know I'm glad you took a few moments to do that. And it's something you've done throughout the year too. You've had your mental health Mondays. Of all the stuff that you've done over the last year, whether it's the video game interactions on Twitch or Mental Health Mondays, the charity work that you've been involved in, what are you most proud of the stuff that you've done away from the football field over the last year?
I couldn't pick one thing, but I would say I'm most proud of just stepping outside my comfort zone, because throughout my career, or, just my life as an athlete, I've kind of just limited myself, I feel like, because I was scared of, maybe what people thought, if they thought what I'm doing is genuine, or if they thought it was coming from a good place. So I just kind of just said, whatever, and I was going to just do what I felt like I wanted to do. And everything that I've done has come from a place of just love and care for other people. And, I just like interacting with people. I'm what you call an introverted extrovert. So if I don't really know you that well, I won't really talk that much, but I do enjoy having conversations with people and talking to people. And, I just wanted to do something with my year off of football. And I just was kind of pulled to, I would say, serving people in a sense. And that's kind of where I want to continue to go during my football career and after my football career. So, yeah, I would just say I'm mostly proud of just kind of diversifying myself and just stepping out of my comfort zone.
I haven't been able to catch all of your events, but the one that I went to that I thought was amazing was the Capes for Kids initiative that you did with Holland Blue Review. That was amazing. It was not like the best part of it is to be able to raise awareness, to be able to raise that kind of money for that it's going to go towards those kids, and it's such a special campaign. I thought that was truly fantastic.
Yeah, I was really happy to be presented the opportunity by the Argos. Julia DiNardo, I think that's how you say her last name. Julia, if you're watching this, don't get mad at me. But she reached out to me for that, and I took it right away. I thought it was a great initiative. My Twitch following, they love the charity streams, and also it gives CFL fans an opportunity to interact with a CFL player. And I just kind of just like bringing all that stuff together. And I mean, we ended up raising about $6,000 when the target goal was about 1,000, and we raised like 1,500 before I even started streaming. So I enjoy myself, and I'm happy that the viewers enjoy themselves too. I see myself as a bit of an entertainer sometimes.
No, absolutely. And that was the first time I've ever tuned in to watch someone else play video games also. So I'm not from a demographic that really understands the appeal to it, but I actually found it to be really fun. I was watching, you and Deveris and, a few other guys out there playing Call of Duty. I got to know though, having seen some of your tweets about the games that you've played, I want to know of the CFL players you play with, you got to tell me who's the best and who's the worst video game player.
Oof. So I'm going to base it off of Call of Duty.
Fair.
Who's the best Call of Duty player? I would say probably. I'm trying to think of everybody. I played with a decent amount of CFL players so far. I put Brandon Bridge. I'd put him up there. I know he's retired, but yeah, Bridge is pretty good. He's really good, actually, and he's probably surprised that I said his name because we have that have that brotherly relationship where we we'll never admit that the other person is better than the other. But I would say Bridge, and usually I would say Tavares is the worst, but someone has taken his place, and his name's Charleston Hughes. I've posted a few clips playing with Hughes, and every time we play, something happens to where I'm like, what were you thinking? And he just says, come on, JB, I'm old.
I half expected you to come out with Cambry.
No. He's actually good. He's good. I'll give him that too.
I feel like every time you post a clip, it's Cambry crashing a helicopter into a tree or something like that.
No, he does funny things, but he's actually a good Call of Duty player. So you get a mix of both. Yeah.
So the last time you were on this podcast, things were pretty different. We were talking about how exciting it would be to have you lining up next to Nate. We were talking about Matt Nichols as your quarterback. You've had like 35 teammates move on to other things and other teams. What's that like as a pro athlete? Like, I know that's part of the business, but this is pretty weird, isn't it?
Yeah, honestly, I over this past 2 years, I just kind of gotten used to weird and abnormal things. So I've had the mindset to just go with the flow, even though I've usually been like that. When football was canceled, I was kind of trying to fight it and, was stressing about stuff. But now I just go with the flow, and I don't think it will be that crazy of an adjustment just because we didn't play last year. And, I was going to line up with new people regardless. So I guess the good thing is, although I'm lining up, with some new people and we have a bunch of talent in the receiver room, there's also a lot of familiar faces on the team. So it doesn't feel that like too much of a transition as far as going from Calgary to Toronto. But at the same time, I'm excited to, meet my teammates that are on the roster now.
Yeah, it's so strange because you're coming to a new team and yet you know the team a lot better than the fans do because this is a really new team for us. These are guys that we haven't seen playing in Toronto, but yeah, there's a good 10 guys here that you've played with and guys in the coaching staff as well. And I was thinking about this the other day. Like we've Coach Dinwiddie has been the Toronto coach now for about a year and a half, and we really don't know too much about him, but you do. So, what can you give us about RD? Something about his coaching style? Is he the kind of guy that is telling war stories of himself as the quarterback? Is he challenging defensive players and saying, Shaq, we're coming for you this play, look out? How's RD on the field? What's he like as a coach?
I would say the best way to describe RD is he's competitive. He's also a great football mind, and he probably became even better being part of the Calgary staff. So I say that RD is definitely competitive, but then he also is a player's coach as well. So if you come to him with something, he'll listen to you, whether it's in your personal life or whether it's on the field. If you see something, he's not too proud to take your opinion and apply it, or take what you're seeing and apply it to what's going on in the field. So I've always liked that about him. But RD just wants to win, and I think if you look at the roster that he's put together, and from guys who were in the NFL, from guys who were good players in Calgary or on other teams, that it shows that he doesn't just want to come in and compete his first year. He wants to go all the way to the Grey Cup.
And I think this might be a roster to do it too. It's getting pretty exciting. Feels like every week the CFL has yet a new reason to hate the Toronto Argonauts because somebody else just got brought in, a huge name, and week after week that continues to happen. So that's pretty exciting. So when I had Coach Bell on a couple of weeks ago, he said one of the hardest things for him in transitioning from player to coach, and especially this year, was mastering the tech. If you had to grade, because I'm imagining you've spent some time in Zoom meetings with Coach Dinwiddie, Coach Howell, Coach Jackson, who's the best and who's the worst at handling the tech as a young guy who's so tech savvy? How'd you grade those three coaches?
From Howell and Coach Dinwiddie,
And Jarius Jackson in there
oh,
too.
so I've only been able to really interact with RD and Coach Howell, but I would say that they're not too bad. I would say Coach Howell's probably the better one, just because I've been in meetings with him more. I don't think I've really seen Coach Jackson or Coach Dinwiddie on Zoom or anything. But I will tell you who's probably the worst in the Argos organization, and I hope he doesn't cut me, but it's probably Pinball. He he struggles sometimes with Zoom, but he usually figures it out at the end of the day.
So you finally found one thing that Pinball can't do.
Yeah, I think that's probably the only thing, is he's not tech savvy.
So you're in quarantine right now. How does this process work? You got training camp starting on July 10th. You're quarantining at the moment. What's this next few weeks going to look like for you?
Um, just trying your best to stay in shape. I feel like it's easier with motivation because you actually know that you're going into camp, as opposed to last year. We would be in quarantine, or we would be preparing for a season that we didn't know was going to happen. And at least we know that this one is going to happen. No matter what happens during the season, you at least know that you're preparing for something. So, whether it be whatever you can do inside to stay in shape, or watching film to, keep your mind sharp and know what you're going to do. I feel like it's a lot easier this time around, just because of the season actually starting.
So you guys are going to be at the University of Guelph, which is an awesome facility. I think it's a great place to have training camp. Are you guys staying on site? Is that how that's going to work?
I honestly, I don't know. I'm just showing up and just being like, just tell me where to go, and just get ready for camp. But I have been to Guelph multiple times. I had the opportunity to work with their football team a couple of times on my bye weeks when I was in Calgary. So I'm pretty familiar with the campus, and they have a great locker room. They have a great field. So I think that it'll be a really good training camp.
I'm wondering if it's going to be a bit like a road trip where you basically are paired with somebody and you got a room and everything else, sort of like the old way that like NFL teams, a lot of them used to do it that way. They've gone away from that a little bit, some of them now, but that's always such a cool bonding experience. I think that would be a great way to go to have Dinwiddie putting thought into who am I going to pair with who, how am I going to lay this out. I don't know if that's what is planned, but I think that would be pretty cool. Who would be your roommate of choice if that was going to go down?
My roommate of choice would probably it'd be either Davaris, Eric, or Dejan Brissett. I'd probably lean more towards Dejan just because, I'd have the opportunity to kind of just mentor him a bit and teach him the playbook and just answer any questions that he has. But at the same time, like he knows that he can always text me, call me, or ask me whatever. He's like a little brother to me. But then Davaris and Eric, those guys, we just were in Calgary and we know each other. So, but I'm usually you're paired with somebody during camp. So I don't know if it's gonna be somebody I know or if it's gonna be somebody I don't know, but I'll get to know them either way.
I love when players start to analyze what the coaches think of them based on who they're paired with. They're like, they put me with this guy. Is that because of me or is that because of him or what's
Yeah. Yeah, some guys think when they're paired with somebody like say that's been on the team for a while that it's like, oh, they want me to make the team or something like that. But I never really know what the coaches are thinking when they do that stuff. So I just kind of just go with it and make the most of it.
So every receiver's got a favorite concept, one where you're like, I know every time we call this, I'm going to be there. I'm not asking you to go into specifics of the Argos playbook or anything like that, but it could be a concept that goes back to Calgary or back to your time in university or high school. Is there one play where you're like, I know I'm going to be there when this is called?
Um, I would say for me, like anything with just a post route. Uh, yeah, just because playing in the slot and being someone who just picks up speed as they run, I always feel like it just gives me a better opportunity to be open. So whenever those are called, I'm running that full speed because I always think that I'm going to score a touchdown on those. So yeah, I would say anything with the post route.
You see that free safety drifting to the other side of the field, you start
Yeah,
getting excited, trying
or
not
he
to show
comes
it.
down a bit. Yeah,
Sure,
yeah,
sure. Maybe they're sending him, maybe it's zero.
yeah,
That's exciting. So anything with a post, we're looking for you going deep.
yeah.
So uh, what we try and do sometimes on the show, I take some pride in the fact that we're trying to create better football fans, and we've got a lot of really nice feedback from listeners and viewers who have learned some things about the game, whether it be X's and O's or just some of the little intricacies of the game. And one of the comments we always get is people are surprised at how much mental work is going on before the play is snapped and even after the ball is snapped and the play is underway. Can you take us through like the things that you think about, some of the responsibilities you have after you break the huddle? Maybe you've got maybe there's a read for you, or maybe there's maybe there's a check with me, or you're hot, or something like that. What's the process like when you leave the huddle and you're getting lined up?
Whew, okay, so it's a lot going on at once, which is why I feel like athletes don't get a lot of credit for the things that we do because it takes a lot of you know mental strength and attention to detail all within 20 seconds, especially in the CFL. So I mean, mind you, even in the huddle, you have to pay attention to the plays because it's telling you exactly what to do. It's telling you where to go. It's telling you what your route is, or if you have a blocking assignment. Then you break the huddle, and depending on what position you're at wide receiver, you have to. Well, all the positions have to look at, the SAM, which is the field linebacker, to the safety, to the halfback, to the corner, because if they blitz, you may have a hot route, right? So if I'm running a go route and I'm the hot read, I'll have to run a slant if one of those DBs blitz, something like that. And then depending on if you have pass protection, sometimes in our offense, the receivers come in and they have to block a blitzer, right? So you have to know who's blitzing, and then you also have to know the line call because that tells you something. Um, and then you also have to pay attention to the snap count, right? Sometimes you go on one, sometimes you go on two, sometimes you go on three. And then so when the ball is about to be snapped, sometimes the defense may change they may change their defense. So you may be getting pressed and then your guy may back off and you have to change the way you run your route within that. And then on top of that, if the ball comes your way, you have to make the catch. And then after the catch, you try and get as many yards as possible. So um, it sounds like a lot because it is a lot, but at the same time, when you've been doing it your whole life and you're comfortable in the playbook, everything kind of moves slower. But when I first started playing the CFL, everything was moving so fast. I was so confused. But now I feel like everything is just, slow and I can see things differently. So yeah, there's a lot that goes on within those 20 seconds.
Do you prefer, because in terms of like, simplicity and getting more complex, offenses are generally sort of the same at the end of the day, but the language is often very different. Do you like the complex play calls where everything is basically, it sounds confusing, but everyone's got their job in there? Or do you like the sort of simple play calls where you now have some memory work to do? Like, do you want to hear West right tight, F left, shift W right, 372, X stick, Z spot? Like, or do you want to hear something like, Panda 89?
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like I can go with either one. And I feel like both offenses that I've been part of, they do a bit of both. But I think sometimes, depending on the situation, that it helps to have a shorter play call. So maybe it's just a one-word call, and it tells everybody what they have, right? Because then you can just say that, and it allows you to just go fast. But then sometimes, if a guy forgets what they have, then it can mess the whole play up because football is the ultimate team sport. Everybody has to be on the same page for things to work most of the time. So that's the one knock I would say that I have against shorter play calls. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're supposed to know what we have. So, yeah.
So when Argos fans saw the revised schedule, we all kind of had to take a seat. What was your reaction when you saw the 2021 schedule?
I was just excited. I really didn't care who we played, who we started with. Everybody's starting off in the same spot, basically. Nobody's played football since 2019. And yeah, Winnipeg was the Grey Cup champions in 2019, but we're all starting from scratch now. And we don't even know who's showing up to camp. Every day there's people that are retiring and you're seeing all types of stuff like that. So I think that CFL fans in general should just be excited that the CFL is back. And just enjoy the games.
Well said. Any DBs you've got to settle some scores with? Anyone you've circled and you're going to go over pregame and say, hey, we're going to dance today?
Not really. I'm not much of a talker on the field, anyways. The most talking I'll do is in practice, probably to Shaq Richardson or Alden Darby, because those guys talk a lot. But it's all in good fun, and just looking to compete with those guys. We have a great group of DBs in Toronto, so I feel like every day is going to be competition, and I feel like that's the best way to prepare us for the season.
Any special feelings about walking back into Calgary for that first game, especially knowing who you've got around you? The fact that it's not only Coach Dinwiddie and Coach Bell into the breach with you. It's Nick Arbuckle, it's Eric Rogers, Robertson Daniel, Asnel Robo. You can even include Cordero Law too. Tavares, I guess, Daniel Braverman, Ricky Neal, Shaq. Dexter McCoyle now too. Like, are you guys? Is there extra excitement? How do you feel about it?
I would say there may be a time where I forget what team I play for because to leave Calgary and then have my first CFL game back in Calgary it's super weird. It's funny how things come full circle, but no, I just There's definitely some great memories in McMahon, great memories in Calgary as a city. I love the city. And I'm just looking forward to that game because it does feel like a second home. By the same time, I'm back home. I'm actually back home. So I think a lot of us that played for Calgary that are on Toronto are looking forward to that game as well.
You just got to make sure you don't pull a Norm Powell when he was with the
Yeah,
Blazers and walk to the Raptor bench because he kind of
yeah,
forgot where he was. I don't want to see you walking to the
yeah.
Calgary bench.
Go in the Calgary huddle.
Exactly. Juwan, I want to thank you so much for doing this. You've been really generous with your time. I really appreciate it. Have a terrific training camp, and I can't wait to see you out there.
Thank you. Thank you for having me as usual.
Juwan Brescacin, wide receiver for your Toronto Argonauts.